Hello, friends. Let's get a rapid game in and see if we can't make this climb to 2000 happen. I'm getting close to breaking 1900 again for the first time in a little bit. Don't remember the last time. It's been over a year, I think. All right, we get the black pieces and an E4 player. Answer that with a Sicilian. He's teasing like he might give me an open. Um, I have been frequently running into this delayed C3 line. But we'll go ahead and go into the E6 Sicilians, Paulson and Taimanov and Khan variations. See kind of what. All right, he is indeed going to give us an open. So we're going to go mainline Paulson. And hopefully get a good game, a good middle game out of this. He develops the bishop. Interesting. Um, this bishop development prevents the c pawn from pushing. It's already biting into this pawn chain. So it definitely expedites kingside castling. So I'm just going to go ahead and develop my queen to c7 without too much thought, because that's just a good square for it. If the knight attacks the queen, I just drop back and stay on this diagonal, and then I drive the knight away. But now I go ahead and I take the moment to drive the knight away, or to keep the knight out of the square. Interesting. This bishop placement here. Wonder if it's going to be problematic for white. So he creates the hidey hole where he can tuck his bishop back in there and just stay on this diagonal. I'll go ahead and just continue development. I'm going to develop my knight, attack this undefended pawn. Totally reasonable for him to develop his knight and to defend it. And then what? And he develops the rook to defend. That's interesting. Why would he develop the? I mean, I guess the rook is okay placed there, opposite the king. Um, so my bishops. Let's go ahead and get the dark square bishop out, maybe. We'll just double down on this knight. He can retreat it, but that will block in his bishop's escape. So it probably be more common to defend it or retreat it this way. He defends it with c3. This structure looks very weird for white. He's taken away two great squares for a knight. Well, a great square and an option. So his knight is only coming to d2. And yeah, he's probably going to want to develop his bishop first so he doesn't trap his bishop in with the knight development. If he does develop the knight first, I would imagine it's his immediate goal to come over here and back up his knight. So my options are expand on the queen side, attack the bishop, drive the bishop away, give myself a developmental square for my light square bishop. That does give him the option to ignore the bishop attack and just take the knight. But then I could just take the bishop. I don't have to take the knight back because he's not attacking anything. If I do that and then I develop the bishop, I'm not fully committing to my fishing pole idea with h5 and knight g4, eyeing up this square. But I think that's where the knight's going to end up anyway. I do think that idea is going to. So what about move order? Does move order matter? Should I go h5 now? Probably not, because then my bishop just sits here useless. Let's go ahead and develop and get our light square bishop out because it's much more useful on the b7 square. And I'm going to have these wonderful bishops attacking the king side with the queen and potentially a knight after I play h5. Question is, do I want to play h5 now? Or do I want to... No. I made this move to develop the bishop, so I should complete this idea before I continue the attack. I need my pieces developed in order to attack. And now that was a thought that I kind of had in the back of my mind. I do run this risk of him being able to take the knight before I can advance it. But if he does, then I get to open up the G file and place a rook on the G file. So not the end of the world. I'm going to push h5 now. And I want to make him decide if that is, does he want to give me the G file? Or is he going to reroute his bishop to oppose my queen? He takes the knight, then I take back with the bishop. And I still have some beautiful long-range pieces here. And if he moves his knight, then that frees up my bishop as well. So I don't think he wants to take the knight. I think he either wants to take now, take the f6 knight, or retreat the bishop to oppose the queen. And if I'm him, I'm probably opposing the queen. Oh, he takes the knight. So he does open this up, and he gives me some beautiful bishops. Okay. This is bordering on disastrous for him. I feel like black has such a huge lead in development, and he takes. All right, I'm going to take back, and now I have an open G file with some amazing bishops and the queen. All right, it's an expanding move, attacks my piece. I've got to respond to it, but I just drop it back, and then what? There's nothing here for white. Do I go back, or do I go? I go further back. I think I come further back to a7. That gives me the potential to swing behind the queen and form a battery on h2 if I want it. Yeah, I think that's the square. I like I like my position very, very much. I cannot stress the power of these three pieces right enough right now. He really needs to get this knight in the game, and there's only one square for that to happen. Unfortunately, he blocks in his queen a little bit temporarily. Um, could have this pawn push before I maneuver the rook. Saves the pawn. Okay, if I ignore this, he has the opportunity to seal my bishop in, but I'm going to remaneuver my bishop anyway. So I could get my rook out. I could take. I'm not worried about him taking the pawn because I just take back. And everything's groovy. Um, White is in a terrible position here. I think I'm just going to develop the rook and get the rook towards the middle to defend my D file. That's where all the play is going to be for White. He's going to want to like stack some pressure here, and it's really his only counterplay. Putting it behind the queen. I mean, maybe there's some merit to that, but I think I really want it over here. My ideas with the queen are on the diagonal. It doesn't hurt to have multi-purpose though, and consider that. Or am I ignoring a better move, a better idea? If I push the pawn now, I run the risk of letting him seal off this diagonal. And now, I suppose I still have the option. I can swing my rook over now before my bishop. But I do very much want to threaten mate quickly. And I still want to have this rook in play. So I'm gonna choose the rook move. White has no dark square bishops, so I'm not worried about any kind of like tricks over here. I'll lift my king at the appropriate moment. I'm going to take back. And I feel really good. Black has a nice position. And white is kind of bumbling a little bit. I know that white's pawn structure is healthier. But I've got the three pawn islands and two isolated pawns, but I have lines of attack. And if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I love being on the attack. All right, so the knight swing over here does prevent mate immediately, but um, can I sack a piece? Can I sack the bishop? And I take on f2 and king takes, and then queen takes h2. I get two pawns for the piece and a very exposed king. Bishop takes, king takes, queen takes, knight f3 attacking the queen. Gotta get out with my queen. Then maybe he offers a queen trade, and I don't want to quite trade queens at that point. I don't think I can get away with that. Maybe I can, but it seems too risky, and I don't want to calculate that hard at the moment. And I know that's terrible for a chess player to say who's trying to gain elo. So let me calculate it one more time. I'm going to shame myself into it. Bishop takes, king takes. Is there a better move than queen takes h2? Queen f4 check. And then the king just goes back. The knight stays here to defend this pawn because I will have two pieces on it. Bishop takes, king takes, queen takes h2, knight f3, queen f4, queen c1, queen g4, and I'm playing against this isolated pawn. Um, Rook e2 defending, rook g8, but I'm leading the charge with the queen, so I don't think I can get away with that yet. I start to risk squandering the attack. So other candidate moves. I'm down to 6 minutes, 20 seconds. Other candidates are rook g8 immediately, knight f3, and okay. I'm going to advance the pawn without calculating too deeply, just based on the idea that I want to lift my king and get both rooks on this attack now. Um, so maybe this rook move might have been a little bit of a wasted tempo, but not the end of the game. Wasted tempo, though, is a killer for attacks. Like, it really does take all the wind out of the sails, wasting tempo. So now I have an idea of well, I guess bishop to b8. I'm assuming the knight's coming here because that's just where the knight wants to be. Okay, he stops my pawn pushing, but that weakens this square tremendously because this pawn is pinned. So now rook g8, knight here, and queen here is devastating. So maybe I go rook g8 and he has to go queen f3. I think rook here's the move. No time to squander that. Weakening this square is huge. I mean, I suppose he has other moves. He could bring his rook over to the c file, but then I'm just coming queen here immediately. And then if queen f3, what? Do I take it? And then knight takes. I don't love that. Queen f3. What are you smoking? Oh, I've played this opponent before. We have a 1-1 record. Okay. Um, doesn't Queen G3 just win on the spot? No, he can bring the queen back to f3. The queen can come back to f3. What about sacking the bishop first? What about bishop here? Hacking the rook and the king. King takes, then queen g3 check. And the king is running. Can't come back to f1 or g1 because that's instant mate. So the king has to run to um, d2, king d2. And then queen takes b2, or not b2, g2, check, king d1. 3 minutes and 53 seconds. Opponent has just under 11 minutes. Ah, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Um, Queen here, queen back. Maybe I can just drop the queen back too and keep my battery. That's good enough. He's got to come queen back to f3 to defend mate, and then I'm just going to drop back and rest on my laurels for a second and keep this attack moving. The queen will never be able to leave the defense of this pawn. I assume he'll have to tuck the king away and bring the rook over to defend. Maybe I just attack the queen there. If I'm him, I'm tucking the king and bringing the rook to defend. Um, I still feel like I'm on the attack, and I love my initiative, but I think maybe there's better. I missed an opportunity here or something. Maybe I should have sacrificed the bishop, brought the king running. Still love my attack though. I think from here, the only thing to do is to lift the king and bring the rook and get an Elecan's gun. Oh, he moves the knight to block the bishop. So we keep the knight out of the square. can always kick the knight out of the square after the fact. Then where's it going? Nowhere. I'm just going to lift the king to connect the rooks. He brings the knight, and I just kick the knight and say, where are you going? That does loosen my bishop. So there's some potential for counterattack here. But he's got a few tempo to try and get that mounted. I think so. He retreats his knight, and then maybe now is the time to trade queens. And then I just can naturally stack my rooks after the queen trade. Do that. He'll have the knight here defending. He can defend g2, but I'll have rooks stacked, and then I can drive the knight away. In fact, I'm just gonna, if he takes, I'm auto taking back. So might as well save every second I can, since I'm in time pressure and my opponent is not. 8 minutes. And I have 310. He's basically has to take, because if he doesn't, his queen is hanging. I don't see where else he would go. So, I mean, no, he doesn't have any other moves. He could defend. He could defend with rook d2. Not rook d2, rook e3, rook e3. Eventually, I will learn the board coordinates. I don't blame him for taking a little time here, because he's got the time to use, and he should use it. I think those are his only options, though. Either take the queen or rook e3, defending the queen. But I don't think his rook wants to be on f3. Rook e3, queen takes queen, rook takes queen. That rook is looking awfully misplaced on f3, because then I'm going to take. Then I'm going to take the pawn on e. So now I think I'm looking at stacking rooks. And my king is going to have a nice little home in the middle of the board, beautifully surrounded by pawns. He could tuck his king and run, and that unpins this pawn, which is defended by the knight. So I can't just snack on this pawn. If he runs with his king, I think I will have to. Oh, no, no, no. His knight's hanging. So he's got to do something with the knight. Which logically looks like f4, defending his weak square. He doesn't do anything with the knight. I take the knight, but he could defend. He could get his other piece into play. Also logical. Dual purpose moves, activate the rook and defend the knight. I think I like that move. That's probably his best move. Rook a d1 and then rook d g8, knight f4, take the knight, e5, and then I'm just plowing through on g2. I don't know if he can hold this together. This may be lost already. See what he does. Yeah. Rook a d1. I think that's the best move, but my response is better. We'd go knight f4 immediately. And then I still stack rooks. And then I still kick the knight. Oh, he's going to sacrifice the knight because the rook is hanging. Oh, what a find. What a find. Break the pin by interposing. But what do you do when I just back the knight the rook up? Your knight's hanging right there. You're threatening, I'm threatening to give up to win it. Your knight's just hanging. If you move the knight, I've got the pin again. I guess you can retreat, and my rook is no longer attacking the knight. Then I come here. Then you've got knight here, which would be attacking a rook here. So maybe I bring the rook all the way back to the 7th rank. I think I just bring the rook back and say, what? Why? What is your knight doing there? Okay. No, I've made progress. This was his white's position is the exact same as it was a move ago, and I've got stacked rooks. So uh, now I kick. It's a good move. I think I can just defend it though. Defend with the king. I don't have to allow him down here. Now, when I move the rook, I will be hanging my backwards f pawn with the bishop, but meh. I've got bigger fish to fry here. I think white's in more trouble. This dark square bishop is a beast all the way back here. Does set up a nice little fork. Except for the fact that this defends it. Now, if he brings this rook off, that's a problem. Move order is so important in chess much of the time. What does he do? I don't see what he does. Mhm. Okay. Bishop takes bishop is check, so probably got to go ahead and take that. Now I just occupy the seventh, the second, and this feels pretty close to lights out. All right, he sacrifices the knight because the rook would be hanging. Mhm. So I think my move is king d8 down to 2 minutes because I don't want to just come over and attack and then lose my powerful bishop. And from here, there's not another knight attack, so we're just going to drop back. Oh, there is this outpost, though. Yeah, that could be a problem. Hmm. Move and then attack. Minute 28. Opponent's down to 220. So he's started using a lot of time. All right. That does prevent my attack on the knight. What about the attack on the pawn, though? Because this is mate 2 after the knight blocks. I love overwhelming attacks. It's hard to go wrong. Like one attack, he stops. He can't stop another just because of my piece placement. It's very hard to defend, and it's very easy to attack. So when given the options, attack. Attacks play themselves. Defense takes time, effort to think about, calculate, and well, so do I guess good attacks. You got to calculate as well, but knight comes here to defend, but does it defend? I can just take the piece at that point, and then I play up a piece. in a very winnable end game. Opponent's under a minute. I now have the time advantage. This is why I use my time in the middle game to get a good position. It gets me in trouble sometimes in the end game when I don't manage to get the better position. But if I get a good position in the middle game, I'm not too worried about being low on time. Is my opponent going to flag? My opponent may flag. Come on, please let me play it. Please let me play it. Okay. Thank you for letting me play it. Much appreciated. Okay, he did flag now. Um, and it is a forced mate in 6. Good game, friend. No brilliancies. My opponent had a great move. Oh, that was not as highly played of a game as I kind of thought. I felt like my position was so good. It was a good position, but apparently I had 3 misses. So maybe somewhere in that middle game jumble. Thought about sacrificing. I should have sacrificed. This wasn't as highly played of a game as I thought, but my position felt overwhelming the whole time. So if you got a good position, then what does it matter? It does this to me frequently, wanting me to develop this knight. And okay, maybe, but like this is a book move. I don't know about okay, so this specific position with the bishop on c4, I'm not positive it's a book move, but calls my bishop move a mistake, and it wants me to take the knight first. And that will be because the queen would be drawn out, and then I could develop the bishop with tempo. But I guess where's the queen go after that? Back. And then it's my move again. So I guess that makes sense. Gain a tempo. Questionable. That was good. That was good. It doesn't always like my h5 push, but it's hard to argue with results. I do like this idea of putting the knight on e5 immediately, though. That's a good idea, even if it does get pinned. I have lots of play in the middle of the board. And there's an immediate threat on e4. So he takes, and that's a boo-boo. But that's a missed opportunity. It does not want me to take back. It wants me to go straight for mate and the fishing pole threat. Move order. Yeah, move order would have been great here, because if I go for this fishing pole threat, his only response is here. And then I can always take back, I suppose, but maybe there's a push. No, the knight's hanging there because the queen's attacking. So knight here, g3. I guess then I take. That was his great move, was taking my knight. I still have a pawn edge here. That was a mistake. This was a miss. The rook move, I overthought a bit. It wants me to just go straight for mate, which is valid. I mean, mate ends the game, and you don't need the rook involved if mate ends the game. And then he blocks with g3, and I've got h4. So, okay, computer, I'll concede a little bit of this, but I still have a good position. So this was a miss. Wanted me to go queen f4. And I think I looked at that. I don't know if I do the arrow to it, but I think I looked at that attacking the f2 square in coordination with the bishop. I don't remember though. The rook move was good. Queen move was a blunder. This was okay. It still wants me to go queen f4, attacking the knight and attacking here. That prompts knight f3 though. And then maybe I just take the pawn. Is it a free pawn? That was a mistake. Wants me to back the bishop up. Why? Why leave the queen there and back the bishop up? What possible purpose does the bishop have on b7? That is just Greek to me. I don't follow that. Oh, of course. This idea, it escapes me so many times. Um, the bishop here, this is in the e6 Sicilians. I say this so many times. When the rook is on the e file, if takes, my king's exposed. I can't take back. Um, okay. So be on the lookout for those. I should be on the lookout for those more. I don't think I ever lose the advantage. That was a bit of a questionable move, but what the heck? Otherwise, it wants me to take with the pawn. Because this pawn is pinned and I'm threatening to fork. That makes pretty good sense. That does make some pretty good sense. He breaks the pin, which was a mistake, but my attack is still just overwhelming. It was a miss. Wanted me to give up my bishop for the knight. Eh, it's hard to criticize moves as mistakes when it still maintains a winning edge. So maybe it's not the most accurate, but I did find the most accurate moves some of the time. And that was just aside from that, the bishop idea, which I need to be more aware of on with the e6 Sicilians ideas of the rook on the e file and prying open the e file with a piece sacrifice. Uh, those are very relevant and very worth keeping an eye on. Hope you enjoyed that. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. Give me your thoughts on the game if you saw something I missed. Yeah, thanks.